Dog Works Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dog Works. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by First Paw Coffee Company, specializing in private label premium blend coffee. If you're serious about coffee, you should check it out. First Paw Coffee's passion is high-quality, small-batch roasted coffee. They take the extra time to taste and get everything perfect before they release new blends. They aim to bring you a cup of happiness each time you pour yourself some coffee. Find out more at ak.dog/free and enter for a chance to win some First Paw Coffee prizes, a book from our collection, and tote bag. One winner will be selected at random each month. That's ak.dog/free.
From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dog Works Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is Dog Works Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert and Michelle Forto.
Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Robert Forto, and you're listening to Dogworks Radio here on KVRF 89.7 in the Mat-Su Valley. RadioFreePalmer.org is our live streaming site. You can find all of our episodes over on dogworksradio.com. Be sure to check us out on social media by searching Dogworks Radio. And today we have a special guest calling in. Her name is Tricia Nichols. She's calling from New York City. And we're going to talk about preparedness in regard to pets with all the things that can happen in the world, whether it be earthquakes or pandemics or floods or fires or whatever. Tricia, how's it going today?
Hi, great. Thank you for having me. This is such a favorite topic of mine to talk about. So thank you for having us today.
You're welcome. Tricia, can you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you're all about, please?
Sure. So I am the CMO for Independent Pet Partners, and we are the parent company of some really special and great independent pet wellness stores like Chuck and Don's, Kreiser's, Loyal Companion, and Natural Pods. And I came to IPP about a year ago, but in my passion is, of course, wellness and pets. It was just a great opportunity that those two things merged together, and I'm able to see that through. I've been in the past a pet caretaker, a pet parent, and one of the reasons why I love the topic of preparedness is from those roles. And then I'm also a parent to a new child. He's now a 19-month-old little boy.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that is ripe to talk about. I got your information right in the middle of the COVID lockdown, and everybody was unsure what was going to happen with everything locked down. We didn't know if we could travel anymore. We didn't know exactly how to get things in order. And I think a big thing that a lot of folks did is reflect about what can happen in times of emergency. And that's what we're going to talk about today. You guys released a very interesting handbook that we're going to talk about. But before we jump into that, you said that you love to talk about preparedness. What history do you have with that? Have you been involved with, I don't know, rescue or the Red Cross or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I just am a person who in my career and then, externally from that, have been particularly interested in wellness. So I've spent some time in Estee Lauder, for instance, and worked in all facets of the Estee Lauder brand. But part of that was with studying skincare and scientists and what works well for your body and how do you better prepare for, natural process of aging, if you will. Or in Under Armour, I did some consulting with Under Armour about the preparedness that athletes go through in training their bodies, and that sleep and the repair of your bodies is really essential to their overall training regimen. And then just in my personal life in the world of preparedness, I've been asked at times to relocate and go somewhere for an extended period of time for work. At one point, I went to work for PepsiCo in New York, and that element of leaving for whether it's a short or long period of time, and you have to immediately know what you need to do to leave instructions behind. So I've been interested in the notions of wellness and interested in the notions of preparedness and even, safety as it is and what you do to be ready to either be away for a period of time or to bring someone else into your home to care for others. And I think that it's just something you never want to have to do in the moment. And there's such great learning from when you're faced with that situation. How do you think about what's essential? How do you think about what someone needs to know if you're handing them the list and saying, this is, my pet, my dog, I want all of his care still taken into account consistently, to be fed the right way, to know the right commands, but, to really make the experience for them feel consistent and keep their wellness at the heart of it. So I've been interested in this topic as I just look back at my life and my career from just real personal experience, and also being able to do this for brands when we think about the notion of wellness and even preparedness as you anticipate what's next. So it was a natural evolution for us to really think about doing this piece when the time came around.
There are so many questions that we could jump into, and I really want to take this on two fronts. And we're going to talk a lot about the handbook that you came out with, Things My Human Knows. And it's kind of a custom caregiver guide for your pets. And I know that your company was part of that and is distributing that. And it's a very useful guide to have for sure. But Tricia, if we could, you had mentioned that you want to make sure that your pets and other people's pets are prepared in case of an emergency. And for folks that listen to our show, you probably know that we're not only dog trainers, but we're also dog mushers, and we have 36 sled dogs down in the kennel area. And one of our things that we really worry about is if my wife Michelle and I were incapacitated in some way and could not care for those dogs. And we went to such a far step as writing up a directive, sort of like a living will for our sled dogs. And that's a pretty extreme example, but that's something that we should think about because we never know when the inevitable could happen. Isn't that right, Tricia?
That's right. And it could be an unforeseen circumstance that of course is scary and what our world just went through and you just truly don't know. Or something that is an unanticipated good moment that still need to get away. But I think, as you mentioned, what goes through your and your wife's head, the idea that you've got to pass along information and instructions and really want someone to care for your pet as good or better than you do takes planning and preparedness. And for us, we really enjoyed, I would say, thinking about all the things we would tell someone. So the exercise that we went through, we talked to all of our internal pet parents, and this was such a real moment for everyone to truly be thinking through and ask, what would you want to tell someone if you need to give instructions? What do they need to know? Who do you pick and how do you know, is there a backup to that person? And when they need to take over, what is that most streamlined way that they can do it? Not only from, where is everything in the house to what's their favorite toy, to what's going to make them most comfortable, what commands do they know, to this great guide that we put together that just almost speaks on behalf of the pet to say, these are the things I know, I do, I like, I need. So it was a labor of love, really. But the situation you talk about is exactly why we did this. Is we want people to have that thought, but not worry, and have something they feel like they can do to be the most prepared possible.
And we're going to pass along this link for this guide, and there's a PDF where you can fill out and download that and put it in a folder and whatever works for your individual needs. Tricia, we talked about that extreme emergency if something major happened where we were in an accident or incapacitated or in some way. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you've thought a little bit about this. But what about money for this if somebody were to have to take care of your dogs in a time of need and they may not be able to care for them on a financial level? Have you thought about that at all when thinking about this guide?
Yeah, we did actually explore that. I'm so glad you asked. I think there's opportunity in the world for this sort of extension of insurance plans and things where there's just, almost, estate planning for your pet and knowing that there's some resources there. And then I think there's also, if it's not something where it's forever and you are just away for a bit, or they need to go with a caretaker for a period of time, there's also great things you can do that put what I would call wellness on repeat. The idea that we make it easy for the caregiver and certainly make it easy for the pet to maintain a consistent lifestyle, but there's things that we offer and other kind of experiences are out there, but auto ship, where you can actually put things on subscription and make sure that you're getting the food you need, or plan ahead for service appointments and do things that maintain wellness. So we will pre-book appointments. Now that's again for a shorter period of time, and I think it brings up a really intriguing thought about what will our benefits look like in the future, and how will companies and insurance companies evolve to think about how do you really plan and let people put, again, what I call wellness on repeat, in their plans. It could be a really interesting experience. But we certainly do that in the short term and offer a lot of opportunities for that. And in the guides, you'll see, there's a lot of ways that we make sure that information is known.
I'm reading through it right now, and just in the first section is something that really speaks to me. There's a text block that says, "Sometimes they call me," and you're filling out, the name of the dog and and all of that, because sometimes we do have nicknames for our pets. We might call them Maxi Poo or whatever, and I think that's really cool because pets really respond to that, don't they?
Yeah, there's a level of comfort, and comfort and pets is one of what we call the pillars of wellness. So we set out to define what wellness means in the pet world, in the pet space, because when I came to join our efforts here, one of the things I realized is there's just no main definition of wellness for pets. So people, it's somewhat defined, and everyone's really grasping that more and more, and they understand the value of things like sleep and good nutrition and ingredients and being comfortable and being, safe. But in pets, that wasn't well defined. So we set out to do that academically, actually. We partnered with the University of Denver and worked with their Human and Animal Connection Center and really put together a framework of wellness. And one of the frameworks is at the pillar of comfort. And the idea that, there's environmental comfort and internal comfort, but that nickname, that's a part of it, is make a pet feel comfortable. There's a safety there, there's a trust, and that's how they respond to their human, and that's what is going to make them most comfortable. So it's a really important one. We enjoyed adding this.
Guys, you're going to love this handbook. I'm just sitting here reading through it as Tricia is talking, and just a couple of things on the exercise and potty break section. It says, "This is what I like to do for exercise. Does your dog like to run or play fetch, or does he go crazy for the frisbee or the chuck it or whatever?" And another one that's very important, and this is on a dog training's perspective, "I'll let you know if I have to go," meaning going outside to potty or use the restroom, "by doing XYZ, whether it's ring a bell, go sit by the front door, whatever." You can put these types of things in. And then, of course, on the dog training side, I respond well to these commands, whether it be, for example, when we're working with working dogs like German Shepherds, sometimes we teach them in German, and we might say Platz for down or whatever. And if they have not been taught what down means in English and they only know Platz, that's a very important thing in this guide as well. But let's jump over to, let's backtrack just a little bit, Tricia, and talk about how this guide can be used in times of natural emergency, like a flood or a fire or something like that. And I say that because most of the time, shelters do not allow pets, at least not now. That's sort of changing a bit, but historically they have not allowed pets in, like a Red Cross shelter or something like that. But having this guide with you can really help, can't it?
Yes, we talked about that quite a bit internally, and there are, and to your point, there are some positive changes in that. That some shelters can and will start to take pets, but that's not everywhere. And what we teach through this, not only the manual that we created, but we created a website, place that you can go to and get more information about, what I mentioned earlier, how to backup plan, how to backup caregiver. But if that doesn't work, the backup could be the shelters that are starting to take more pets when emergencies are declared, or again a backup to your backup. And we even talk about hanging pet stickers and inside, of course, your window in your home, and we're making those available in our stores now, more and more, so that people can let emergency personnel that need to get into the home know that there's a pet inside. So there's a couple different ways we thought about this, because there are, to your point, various circumstances that may be natural events and not just something that is, what we've just experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Tricia. I'm a huge advocate for the stickers, to place on your front window or whatever. We do a lot of service dog training, and often if something happens to the home, say there's a fire or an evacuation or whatever, the authorities, the police, the fire department, or whomever, or even your neighbors may not know that there's a dog inside or whatever. So that is key to having that emergency preparedness for your home, isn't it?
Right. It's a very big element that we were happy to get stickers ready for folks, so they can come by our stores if they're here and get those.
So, Tricia, I have not filled out this guide for myself, but what happens when they fill out the blocks? Does it tabulate into a printable PDF? Does it go somewhere else, or where?
A good question. So it is something that is, they can print it, they can share it. We thought that was probably the most important piece, is that you're able to use it right away, fill it out, and give it to someone. And the way that we've set it up is that you can go back in and edit it when needed, and that way you've always got a really up-to-date version and can share that. So it becomes extremely friendly for what it's intended to do, which is get to a caregiver who needs it. I think, as we start to evolve what this looks like, we'll also take ideas and input from our pet parents, because, this is a sense of relief and comfort that you have this in place, and people will have ideas and will want to keep hearing those and evolve that along the time. So this will always be an interactive guide on our site, and we'll always be able to put new, interesting, additions to it.
One thing I'm thinking about when you're talking about the ability to share this and or save it is, well, with like any other legal document, people have to be aware of it. Whether it be your will or where your important papers are, like your birth certificates or whatever. How can you make folks aware of this? Let's say that, your best friend that lives the town over is going to be the number one person on this document. What happens if you forget? How can we be reminded that we need to share this with our friend Betty or John or whomever?
I actually am in the process of creating something that you can put inside the home that will share where the document is. And one of the things that we are doing for our loyalty members is we will keep a copy for them, and if they need to access it, they could simply give a URL to their friend, and that way they can get it immediately. So we're looking for ways to make that as easy as possible, even down to if it's on the refrigerator. This is where my pet's wellness information is stored. Create such an easy and streamlined way to get to this great information.
And there is a lot of streamlined information on this for folks that are listening. There's a spot on there for additional emergency contacts. There's room for your microchip number and your shot records and who your vet is and where you typically take your pet for grooming and nail clipping and all of that. Everything is right there. And I think that's such a cool way to tabulate information. With our sled dogs, we have 3 or 4 huge binders of information with a lot of this same information. But, most people don't have dogs like we do. They have 1 or 2 dogs, or a dog and a cat, or whatever. So I think that this would really work well for the average household. Tricia, you had talked about, we're just about out of time, you talked about this evolving. And my first question is, when did this come out and what's in the pipeline? Have you thought about new features or new ways that you can update this that may be very different from what we're seeing at the time we record this?
Yes, good question. So what's next for us is, I mentioned the 5 pillars of pet wellness. So just quickly, I'll say what they are. So everyone knows. The first pillar of pet wellness is nourishment. The second is play, and that's about active minds and bodies. The third is comfort. The fourth is companionship, and the fifth is purpose. And as this guide evolves and we do other things, part of the comfort pillar is really safety and the element of safety. And we're going to be doing more things against safety, so that you can come to us for all your needs, whether it's lost pet, this kind of manual where it's really about, what is everything my human knows about me, and I, need to tell another person to take good care of me. So we'll be expanding more on that. And then those wellness pillars that I mentioned, we'll be doing training and seminars against, how do you keep up companionship as a wellness pillar? What does it mean? How do you break that down? What's involved? What's comfort look like? Comfort is inside the home. It's in their body. It's in their skin. It's in their environment. How do you continue that? And what are the guidelines for that? So we're going to keep going on our 5 pillars of pet wellness and do, classes and training behind that. And probably more things like this manual, or even expand this manual to include more of that, because it is, pet wellness is not well defined, and we really set out to do that. And now we're quite excited that there is a definition, and we just want to share it and get people involved, because the wellness of pets is the wellness of humans, is the wellness of the environment. It's extremely, harmonious relationship. And we're just excited to help educate around that.
Tricia, I absolutely love this. I think it's a wonderful idea. It fits so much in our wheelhouse on how we educate our clients and our pet parents and the folks that we work with. And I think that we're going to place a link on our online training portal for all of our clients to be able to utilize and take advantage of. Lastly, Tricia, what is the best way that people can access this? Do you have a short link? Do you have a Facebook page or Twitter, or what?
Yeah, easy, great question. So either one of our 4 brands, Chuck and Don's, Loyal Companion, Natural Paws, or Prizers, you just simply go to that.com/pet-prep, short for pet preparedness. So
I love it.
It would be loyalcompanion.com/pet-prep.
Excellent. Tricia Nichols is our guest today, and it's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much for joining us here on DogWorks Radio, and good luck to you and in the future. And thank you very much for sharing this, you and your team. I think it's going to be a great asset and resource for pet parents everywhere.
Great. Well, thanks for having us. We look forward to coming back again.
Very good. Thank you. On behalf of my guest today, Tricia Nichols, this is Robert Forto. We will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company. Learn more at firstpaw.coffee.
From First Paw Media, this is DogWorks Radio. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michelle Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media. We're living in uncertain times. If there is one thing we can be thankful for, that is the recent pet adoption boom. Shelters are being cleared out, and that means you may not know much about your new best friend. Alaska Dogworks virtual and on-site classes are the best way for you to build a lasting bond and learn about your pup, new or old. From setting up a proper routine to learning the commands and much more, Alaska Dogworks provides you with the resources to develop your dog into one of the best. Right now, Alaska Dogworks has an exclusive offer just for our listeners. Go to alaskadogworks.com now and use promo code DOGWORKS and save 20% off your training program at the time of your booking. Visit alaskadogworks.com and use promo code DOGWORKS to save 20% today. That's alaskadogworks.com and use promo code DOGWORKS at the time of booking. Did you know that Alaska Dogworks trains service dogs for those in need throughout North America? Each and every service dog that is trained through the Lead Dog Service Dog Program and Michelle Forto and her team has an individual training plan. We train for autistic, mobility, psychiatric, and PTSD for our soldiers for service work. If you know of someone that may need a service dog, please take a moment and check out Alaska Dogworks on social media and at alaskadogworks.com.